is there a majority interest or not in having another meeting in 2 days to finalize the decision?
Yes.
I would welcome 2 more days.
I would welcome 2 more days. It doesn't have to be consensus. Do we need, should we get very specific and grab our calendars to make sure 2 more days is even possible?
I could even, just 1 day.
I think we need 2 days
Yeah,
to
we've got
announce
a
it.
24-hour notice to announce the meeting.
Yeah.
So the budget's gonna change in 2 days.
9:30.
Sandy, you said there was an option.
Processing happens at night. Is
Well,
that
that was that half day, everybody discussed half day.
General idea, and then you'll select.
Are we,
And it's-
Larry, in this
it did
plan,
not
are
work.
we offering any half-day? Because I know there's parents. That
Yes,
was-
you have to provide.
So we have to offer half-day, if we went with Plan 4, we would still have to offer a half-day option for parents who would want it. We have no
But
way of
you could
gauging.
move them to any school?
No, what they
No,
would do is
no,
they
they
go
probably
to
attend in the
school
morning.
Oh,
and they just get
I
picked up
see.
at lunchtime.
okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Well, that's a good information. And plus, I want to be able to think if I have any more questions, if there's something I haven't thought about, but
We don't really know what that half-day demand might be. We sense it would be fairly low.
yeah, I think so. But I know there are people who want it, but that's a good way to,
Can I, so Tuesday works, or Thursday works for me. It sounded to me, if I can try to push what I think, one piece of information that might make that might influence the decision is this belly buttons per room, belly buttons per box, and what does that look like, even at just a rough cut level across the schools? Because if it's gonna be, if there's some schools that are just gonna look way crowded, I think that's gonna influence me. And then it seemed like we were kind of getting down to, that gets us to a couple different choices. But I think that would be
Well, I
one
think
piece
it's
of
really-
information.
I think it's really important that you contextualize that these are projections that we have padded heavily. And Jeff has already gone through each school and seen that's what you've got with those averages. Here's the largest it would be, here's the smallest it would be, but it depends so much on the children that actually show up, which grade levels they're in, how that all works out. That to give you that kind of specificity 10 months out is gonna be really a big shot in the dark.
I get that, but my gut is, and I get how the shots in the dark work, and it did a great job with it. If it's gonna be max at 4 schools in 4 grades, that's kind of like, I think that was, Kimberly, you had brought up the question, do we have a target on here? Do we have kind of a veto line? And I think if a school is gonna feel mega crowded, that's about the only, I think that would pull me off of 4. For the other parts, I think I'm willing to go with 4. But that's where my gut is, that could pull me off of it.
So just conceptually, one thing to think about is that at certain schools now, if you have half-day program, kids are coming in the morning and kids are coming in the afternoon. If you go with Plan 4, those same 2 groups of kids are there all the time, all day long. So all schools will see that have current half-day programs would see more kids at school at one time all day than they currently do. Because right now in half-day programs,
They're only there half.
they're only there in the morning and then a different group's there in the
Right, but I
afternoon.
think, do you understand what my question is? I think David understands. Where one
I
school
think
is
I
gonna be
understand.
overly
So
impacted.
I
Right.
think is
What's it
and
gonna feel like
again,
when I walk in to visit my kids?
Well, you could walk into, Fernwood is an 877 right now. So we've got schools that are really big right now and feeling that pressure. I don't know that the number in the classroom, yes, I get it that we're talking about 2 kids more in a classroom, but the number, that's what I'm trying to conceptualize here, not trying to address your question is, there's still gonna be 877 kids in Fernwood. Whether they're in fewer classrooms or more classrooms, the 877 is a big number at a school that was built for 550. So doing that by grade level with projections, I think is gonna be, I don't know, I'll leave it to Jeff, he's
So
the
can I-
master at it, but.
can I tag on? Because this will, and this is what I've been stuck on, so it just this might be different than what you meant, Ken, but for me, and again, even if this only has 80% accuracy or whatever, if the majority of the classrooms in a certain school, if you have one or two of the classrooms that are approaching this max, then it seems like something that a staff can team up around and mitigate. If you have several classrooms in the building that are at this max, we have less ability of the staff, and that's why I keep focusing on these big classroom sizes. Because at Sunrise, they can work around, they team up and they work around it, they make it work, because it's only that one grade, to use that example.
And one class.
Right, and so, but if it turns out we're just,
I've got a chart that shows all the buildings and all the average class sizes in each grade, that I didn't bring it with me, I'm sorry,
Right.
but I can certainly provide you that information.
Okay, so let me, just so, minimum is best case scenario, maximum is worst case scenario. What's the likelihood that in any one school, they have the worst case scenario at every grade level?
I think it's going to be closer to the average, district-wide average, than it is to the max in most cases, but there will be some that are at or near the max.
At every grade level, though?
No,
If you-
just
No,
at
not
every
at
school.
it's system-wide.
Right, and that's because I think that's where I'm hearing the concern is.
Yeah.
Is there a school that's got the worst
Are we
case
sentencing a
scenario?
school?
Are we
At
providing
every
equity
grade
in one
level.
sense and then not equity because of this
Right.
law? You're taking equity from.
Or is it a
you
situation
know.
where it's the fourth grade at Sunrise and the fifth grade at Kokanee and
right,
that are at the worst case scenario?
and
As opposed to K through 6 is the worst case scenario at normal.
And that would, honestly, that would help me with my struggle here.
So what I can do is, I can, at the schools where there's going to be room anyway, I can just plug the teachers into the classrooms where they would normally be. So
Okay.
Bear Creek would get the teachers it's supposed to get. There's 9 of them. Arrowhead's a little bit on the bubble because we might have to move classrooms for more ones, but, and then at all the schools that don't have capacity, and we would essentially run with higher class size ratios with more non-classroom assigned teachers. I can show you by grade level, what the average size of the class would be. Without actually going in and putting kids in each classroom in each building, we can't get one.
Sure, but that still gives you, if you can just say how many classrooms that looks like, you don't have to, you can still have an average, but again, if we're talking Fernwood and there happens to be many classrooms at that grade, there's a lot of number of kids impacted, or if there's only 2 classes in that grade, it's fewer kids.
Yeah, the only caveat to that is Kokanee and Crystal Springs, where they've, Ryan's folks have moved those kids over to Frank Club and to Maywood. My spreadsheet keeps all the kids at the home schools, so there's a little bit of artificiality to it, but it's easy to take the spreadsheet, make some pivot tables that show class size by building, by grade, average class sizes, and also the number of classrooms at each grade that each building would have. That's not hard to do if that's useful.
Tiny point of information, and the ratio is generally going to be real similar in a 5th grade in a building,
Yes.
because you're pretty much still, right, okay.
The
thank you.
fewer the classrooms and the odder the package of students, the more likely you're going to have
The bumps,
the bumps.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think that would really help us, and you guys have already looked at it, so I think that would really give us that level of sense that we've seen enough data to it.
And I would just say, just again, we said it a couple of times, just a huge caveat that this is projected
Yeah, I
data
was
10
gonna
months
say.
out.
Oh, yeah, you always
Oh,
need
for
a
sure.
baseline
Yeah.
somewhere, right?
It would help me
Yeah.
some.
It's projected at the max, at our
Yes.
max, what we think the max
Right.
can be.
You didn't go at the conservative or at the
We took
middle.
the
No, we
high
went
one.
to
No,
the
they-
very highest
Yeah.
number
They
we thought
added
it
up.
possibly could be,
So
and
we'll get-
then
that's
we
good.
ramped it
I
up
mean,
more.
That's one of the other changes from what was originally shown.
We looked at
Max-
Thursday then?
that
Yeah,
you
can we look
maxed
at
it.
Thursday?
So what would this look like? Are you talking about having everybody here in the room again on Thursday?
Well, that,
I was gonna say, you got it on us. You
Yes.
got it.
Well, that's why I'm trying to get
That's
clarity on
right.
this vision.
I will, if Jeff's, it sounds like Jeff already has the information somewhat packaged, so it's not too difficult. I will commit to coming with a vote on Thursday.
And Kimberly, are you gonna need staff, or are you gonna be able to come in with just the information?
I think, we'll get that tomorrow, or will we
I
come
can
that day?
send it to
Will we come that
Larry
day?
late tomorrow morning, I just need to look at at the building pivot tables.
Yeah, I literally need to process it. I
No,
just
I
need
know, I
to.
understand that. I'm just trying to figure out what we're creating. on
Right, what kind of
Thursday.
meeting we're talking about?
Not very long. Like,
Well,
I mean, but I don't know, because I don't know where
how
everybody.
much discussion?
If he's going for 2, and nobody wants, I mean.
Well, and then we'll just have to do a vote, we'll have to just do a vote.
I agree.
That's right.
But we can't vote.
Oh, we can vote.
announce it.
We give it to, yeah,
We
yeah,
announce
the
it,
board,
right?
yeah, we have a announced meeting.
We can
So
vote
if
in
we're-
a
if
study
Yeah, the
session.
only thing we can't do is take the vote in secret
I
session,
thought
but we could
can't
resign.
vote in study session.
We can give guidance.
It's a special meeting, you can vote, we just traditionally don't.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So, we can publicize it as a special meeting, you couldn't take action on anything other than what was on the agenda.
Right.
So I would suggest that if you want to get back together on Thursday, knowing that we need to get 24 hours notice, and Cindy will need to get all that out in the morning, it would be best to look at Thursday afternoon, if that's better, to just assure that we have adequate 24-hour notice.
Like 12-ish,
Or
1-ish.
3-ish, is that what you're thinking?
What can you not do?
Oh, actually, I just have to be there to pick up Gianna at, but she doesn't get out till 4:30 that day, because she has ASB. So actually, as
So,
long as I get to Copeland by
I would
4.
I would suggest if it works for everybody, 1 or 2, and I would ask that we have a hard stop time.
I can do 1.
I could do one.
1.
David, do you know your calendar?
Yeah, let me think about it. I think if I can do 1 to 1:30, 1 to 2.
Can we aim for 30 minutes? I mean, in terms of, if somebody needs to let,
I'd say give it an
Yeah, I was
hour.
gonna
I'd
say.
like to-
I'd be there if you could make it.
I'd just be there to see it. I'd be glad to.
Okay, we're gonna make it a goal.
Yeah, but I mean.
all right, here we are, we're gonna come
Wait,
back.
let me just, you guys, when you guys were all in the room discussing this and you had to hash this stuff out, it wasn't probably easy going through all these different 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Never is.
No, it isn't.
And you had to come back together,
Yes,
so,
Larry made us.
and now,
Okay,
I'm gonna come with
Choose
a
a
vote on
time.
Thursday. So 1 o'clock on Thursday the 10th. That's what we're saying. Is that agreement? And if anyone needs further information, we should say, please speak now.
and yeah, I just want to say one other thing that's clarifying, where we think, and this is part of maybe the board training that we've had at WASDA and stuff, you know, one thing I'm trying to think about versus making these quick, and I don't mean quick, because I still think 24 hours is a quick decision, is trying to look at it through that lens of who we may we be hurting over here that we're not over here. Who are, and I can't think through it in this 5, moment to be able to go through that process, because I see the equity side and giving everybody full day kindergarten. And I've heard from a lot of families that they would like to have the opportunity to have full day kindergarten, and I see the data. So I see all those pieces of it. I want to make sure that we're not
Yeah, not necessarily.
shorting someone over here, and that it might not be a big thing that we didn't think about, or I didn't think about. So then I can go out to the community and say, no, this is why we did this, and I'm confident in that.
Okay, so 1 o'clock on Thursday works for everyone.
I don't know either.
You will not be here at all on Thursday?
Thursday afternoon shot. But what I'll do is look at the information. If for any reason my mind changes, then I'll figure it out. And if my mind isn't changed, then I'll let you know. And 'cause I think I've pretty much communicated my thinking
Yes.
Yeah.
and reasoning and
Mhm.
Is there anything on Friday?
Western.
Oh,
Oh, you're gonna do the
But
rest
you
of
could
it,
do
yeah.
Thursday morning.
I could do Thursday morning.
All the elementary principals will be here
So-
Thursday morning.
yeah, I don't think we can do Thursday because we're not even gonna get the 24-hour notice out.
Right.
We'll probably mid-morning tomorrow.
But
I'm
you,
fine. I feel like I communicated.
you're probably
Yeah, right.
not too sad.
Okay. Before we adjourn, I want to thank the superintendent for bringing this agenda to the board even before I got there, for bringing David and I up to speed. And going around the table on a tough one like this, that was really helpful for the board. We really rely on you as staff, and thank you for sharing that fully and completely. And that those that you have different opinions, whatever, that really is useful for the whole process. So thank
It
you.
was useful for the.
It was really
That was, actually, that helped me a lot.
Okay, so I'm going to adjourn the study session. Next, we're gonna, the board has to meet in executive session to discuss a parent complaint.
Run.